October 2023, a suburban neighborhood outside Phoenix, Arizona. A 50-year-old woman takes a package from a delivery driver, carries it inside, and places it on a shelf next to 90 other laptops just like it. This isn't a storage unit. It's a server farm disguised as a family home. And right now, in this living room in an ordinary American suburb, North Korean nationals are working through those computers. A few hours later, FBI agents will knock on her door. They'll seize every laptop on that shelf, and they'll discover that this quiet woman from a sleepy suburb had spent 3 years running one of the most bizarre North Korean operations ever uncovered on U.S. soil. Her name is Christina Chapman. Until that morning, she was a popular TikTok creator with 100,000 followers. She filmed selfie videos about clean eating and personal growth. She told her audience how she'd finally paid off her debts, how she was traveling the world, how everything had finally come together. Her followers left comments and tapped likes. Not one of them realized that in the very same house, she was helping Kim Jong-un's regime. How did an ordinary woman from suburban Arizona end up inside one of the largest North Korean spy operations ever discovered in the United States? How did federal investigators track her down? And what did they find on those 90 laptops? And did she actually know who she was working for? In 2020, COVID-19 emptied out office buildings, and millions of Americans went remote for the first time. Companies started shipping laptops by courier without ever meeting their new hires face-to-face. Nobody understood yet what kind of opening this new reality had just created. Christina Chapman was 45 at the time. Behind her were years of waitressing and odd online gigs. By the time the pandemic hit, her life was a financial disaster. In a later interview, she would reveal that during that period, her house didn't even have running water. To take a shower, she drove to a Planet Fitness. On her social media from those years, she wasn't hiding any of it. She wrote about living paycheck to paycheck, drowning in debt, looking for any way out. On top of all this, her mother had just been diagnosed with cancer. Christina would later say in interviews that she desperately wanted any job that would let her be there for her mother in her final months. "I wanted to get some sort of degree that would allow me to make enough money to support her," she would explain. And it was right at this moment that a message arrived in her LinkedIn inbox. The profile looked unfamiliar but professional. A representative from some international IT company. The offer was simple. Be the American face of a firm that helps overseas developers land remote positions at U.S. companies. No tech experience required. All she needed was a U.S. address, English fluency, and a willingness to receive corporate packages at her home. The pay, by her standards, was excellent. Christina said yes almost immediately. Later, in an interview with Bloomberg, she explained it this way. "I guess I was so desperate for a job at that point that I didn't really ask too many questions." Within days, the first laptops started arriving at her door. Here's how the scheme worked. Remote employees from her so-called company applied for tech positions at American firms, using her address as their place of residence. When a candidate was hired, the corporate laptop got shipped to her home. Christina would power it on, connect it to her home internet, install remote access software, and the actual worker, sitting thousands of miles away, would start operating through her machine. To the American company, everything looked perfect. The employee was logging in from a US IP address during normal business hours, submitting code and reports, attending Zoom calls. The fact that he was actually sitting in Pyongyang or somewhere in northern China was impossible for anyone to verify. Christina called her co-workers by the names they'd given themselves: Marcus, David, Alexander. By her own account, she developed something close to a normal office friendship with them. They wished each other happy holidays. She knew which of them had girlfriends. They called her sister and part of the family. While laptops kept arriving at her address, her TikTok was taking off. By early 2022, she had a few thousand followers. By the end of the year, over 50,000. She told her audience on camera how she'd climbed out of debt, how she'd taken her first real vacation in 10 years, how she finally had a job in the computer business. Her followers left enthusiastic comments. Many of them saw themselves in her, a middle-aged woman who'd survived everything and finally earned a comfortable life. In her first month on the new job, she made around $900. A year later, she was pulling in up to $12,000 a month. On average, she said, somewhere between $6,000 and $7,000 a month. After years of living without running water, this was more than she ever thought possible. And it was right at this moment that Christina would make her first mistake. Not at work, on her blog. In one of her videos from early 2023, which investigators would later track down, Christina filmed a home tour. She showed off the kitchen. She showed off her workstation. And for a couple of seconds, the camera panned past a shelf in the living room, holding a row of around 20 corporate laptops. Her followers didn't think twice, but an FBI analyst who would later work the case told reporters that this exact frame was one of the first red flags. We counted at least 10 or 12 laptops in that one shot where she just happened to turn, and we said, okay, we know what we're dealing with here. As her account grew, so did the scope of the operation. By mid-2023, more than 50 corporate machines were running through her house at any given time. According to court documents, the list of employers included NBC Universal, Nike, Boeing, the insurance giant MassMutual, an aerospace company, and the major cybersecurity firm Palo Alto Networks. 2 more applications had been submitted for positions inside U.S. government agencies. Christina knew exactly what was going on. In her messages with her handler, she was the one discussing which companies were promising and which ones screened too aggressively. In one exchange later published by CNN, the handler is coaching her ahead of a video interview. In 20 minutes, there will be a meeting to set up the laptop. Can you log into Teams and just follow whatever the IT specialist tells you to do? The computer will need to restart many times. I can't handle that. Christina asks a question back, and it's this question that shows just how deep into the scheme she was. What do I say about who I am? My name is going to be on the screen, right? The reply comes back calm and matter of fact. Just put yourself on mute and listen, then follow her instructions. If they ask why you're using 2 devices, say the microphone on your laptop doesn't work right. Most IT people are pretty cool about it. This is the messaging of someone who clearly understands she's deceiving the employer. Not, why am I doing this instead of the real employee, but what do I say to make them believe me? Prosecutors would later use this exchange as one of the key pieces of evidence that she knew the whole thing was fraudulent. By the spring of 2023, her TikTok hit its peak, 100,000 followers. She was posting videos about gratitude, about setting goals, about how she could finally breathe again after years of financial struggle. In one video from that period, she tells the camera she feels truly free for the first time in her life. At some point, Christina did start to wonder. By her own account, she went online and typed a question into Google. Can U.S. companies hire foreign workers based overseas? Google told her yes, that's fine. Then she called a lawyer. The lawyer told her it was a gray area. Not illegal, not legal, is how she'd later repeat his words. That was enough to calm her down for months. But the real warning bell didn't come from Google or from a legal consultation. It came during one of her regular work conversations with her own co-workers. In a chat with one of them, Christina happened to mention the name he was using at his latest American job. He casually replied that he had no idea who that person was, the one whose name he was using. A few weeks later, another co-worker said something even more alarming, that his identity was completely made up, that a person with that name didn't actually exist. Christina would later say of that moment in an interview, I was just like, what do you mean? What are you even talking about? That was when she went to a lawyer on her own initiative for the first time. And as she would tell it, she learned that what she was doing could land her in federal prison. In her own messages from that period, which would later show up in the indictment, there's a line. I just found out from a lawyer that I could get in some serious legal trouble for doing this. I could go to federal prison for falsifying federal documents. But Christina didn't stop. By her own words, she was in debt, her mother was dying, and she couldn't afford to walk away. The cruelest moment came on the night her mother died. Christina posted about it in the group chat with her co-workers. Most of them didn't respond. One of them opened the message and demanded she get on a laptop immediately, then made her apologize for being late. By her own account, that was the moment she realized that for the people who'd called her sister and part of the family, she was nothing more than an American mailing address. And here's where the case starts to read almost like dark comedy if it weren't so disturbing. On weekends, Christina would pack up old laptops and bring them to the post office. According to court documents, she shipped at least 49 corporate machines outside the United States. A chunk of those packages went to the same city in China, Dandong, a city right on the border with North Korea, known to American intelligence as one of the main logistics hubs for Pyongyang's overseas IT operations. 49 packages, the same city. On the North Korean border, can you spend 3 years shipping laptops to the same spot on the Korean border and genuinely believe you're working for a legitimate American IT company? By this point, the FBI already knew about her house. According to information later confirmed by the Department of Justice, agents had been surveilling her address for nearly 8 months before the raid. They were logging incoming packages, outgoing shipments, banking transfers. They were waiting. They didn't just want an arrest, they wanted the entire scheme, with every name and every conversation, and they got it. One morning in October 2023, FBI agents with a search warrant arrived at Christina Chapman's home in Litchfield Park. Christina herself was in California that morning at a concert for a Japanese pop group she loved. When her phone rang and someone told her federal agents were at her house, her first thought, by her own account, was, "Why is the FBI at my house? I don't understand what's going on." One of her co-workers sent her a short message that same day. "Delete everything on your phone. Stop using Skype. Download Telegram." According to the official DOJ press release, agents seized more than 90 corporate laptops inside her home, banking records, cell phones. One agent would later tell reporters that what they found exceeded their expectations. In one room, open laptops were running side by side, dozens of machines operating at once, with brand new devices stacked in corners, still in their packaging. They were everywhere. And here's what made the case airtight. Every single laptop was meticulously labeled. Each device had a sticker listing the company it belonged to, the stolen identity it was being used under, and sometimes even the password. Christina kept the records herself. She labeled the stickers herself. She kept the messages with her handler and the connection instructions all in one folder. Prosecutors would later call this find an investigator's dream archive. But Christina, in that moment, still didn't understand how serious her situation was. After the raid, she kept posting on TikTok. The tone, however, had changed. In March 2024, she posted a video where she opened up about money for the first time. According to CNN, her words went like this: "I need help, and I'm really bad at asking. I haven't been working since the end of October, and that's not by choice. I lost my job, and I've already gone through all my savings." Her viewers tapped likes and sent short, kind comments. None of them knew that the job she'd lost was an FBI-shuttered operation that had been evading international sanctions against North Korea. That her burnout was a criminal investigation in which she was the key defendant. That her savings were her cut from the $17 million that had passed through her living room. But the strangest moment in this whole story didn't happen during the raid. It happened 7 months later, when Christina was finally arrested. In May 2024, she was taken into custody and brought to a cold holding cell in Florence, Arizona. There, at her first hearing in front of a judge, she heard the words "North Korea" used about her for the first time. By her own account in interviews, it was an absolute shock. The judge was the first person to actually mention North Korea and the possibility of North Korean spies. And I started bawling. I was born in South Korea. South Korea is important to me. North Korea is not. I'm not the girl who has ever dreamed of being part of some international spy ring. Christina was born in South Korea. She was adopted by an American family. Her love for Korean culture was part of her identity. And now she was facing charges for working with a regime that, to most South Koreans, is the enemy. In August 2024, she posted a video that would later be replayed as the symbol of her entire story. On camera, a 50-year-old woman with a tired, makeup-free face. Her voice is shaking. "I'm struggling really badly, especially with finances, and I've lost my home. I have to be out by tomorrow morning. If anyone can help with $5, $10. $17 million had passed through her house over 3 years. Of that, she kept around $177,000 for herself, about 1%. The rest went to Pyongyang, where, according to the US State Department, the money funded weapons of mass destruction programs, including the nuclear and ballistic missile programs. And now she was asking strangers on the internet for $5 in rent money. She started selling homemade poetry, paintings, and credit repair services. In court, Christina pleaded guilty to all 3 charges. In July 2025, a federal judge in Washington handed down the sentence: 102 months in prison, 8.5 years. After her arrest, federal investigators launched a wave of similar cases. By the end of 2025, the FBI had identified at least 8 other Americans running laptop farms out of their own homes. One in Tennessee had 40 machines running at the time of the raid. Another in California had 30. They all said roughly the same thing. Someone messaged me on LinkedIn offering an easy job. I had no idea I was working for North Korea. According to the FBI, right now, as you're watching this video, thousands of North Korean IT workers still have active contracts with American companies. They're writing code for banks, for healthcare providers, for defense contractors. Their paychecks are still flowing back to North Korean territory, and somewhere in a quiet neighborhood in Phoenix or Denver or Miami, there's another ordinary woman accepting yet another delivery laptop at her address. In her final statement after the verdict, Christina spoke to the people she had harmed. The Americans whose identities she had stolen, who later received IRS letters demanding $500,000 in unpaid taxes. I am incredibly sorry. This shame and this guilt will stay with me for the rest of my life. So who was Christina Chapman? A naive woman who was conned and used in someone else's game, while she was caring for her dying mother and trying to survive? Or an accomplice who knew exactly what she was doing, spending 3 years shipping corporate laptops to a town on the North Korean border and deliberately looking the other way because the money was too good to give up? Victim of manipulation or partner of the regime? Let me know what you think in the comments.